With storms of whistlings then his flock he drave up to the mountains, and occasion gave for me to use my wits, which to their height I strived to screw up, that a vengeance might by some means fall from thence, and Pallas now afford a full ear to my neediest vow. And then my thoughts preferred. A huge club lay close by his milk-house, which was now in way to dry in season, being an olive tree which late he felled, and being green must be made lighter for his manage. 'Twas so vast that we resembled it to some fit mast to serve a ship of burden that was driven with 20 oars, and had a bigness given to bear a huge sea. Full so thick, so tall, we judged this club, which I in part hewed small and cut a fathom off. The piece I gave amongst my soldiers to take down and shave, which done I sharpened it at top, and then hardened in fire I hid it in the den within a nasty dunghill reeking there. Thick and so moist it issued everywhere. Then made I lots cast by my friends to try, whose fortune served to dare the bored out eye of that man-eater. And the lot did fall on 4 I wished to make my aid of all, and I the 5th made, chosen like the rest. Then came the even, and he came from the feast of his fat cattle, drave and all, nor kept one male aboard. If of his memory slept by God's direct will, or of purpose was his driving in of all then, doth surpass my comprehension. But he closed again the mighty bar, milked, and did still maintain all other observation as before. His work all done, 2 of my soldiers more at once he snatched up, and to supper went. Then dared I words to him, and did present a bowl of wine with these words: Cyclops, take a bowl of wine from my hand, that may make way for the man's flesh thou hast eat, and show what drink our ship held, which in sacred vow I offer to thee, to take ruth on me in my dismission home. Thy rages be now no more sufferable. How shall men, mad and inhuman that thou art, again greet thy abode, and get thy actions grace, if thus thou ragest, and eat'st up all their race? He took and drunk, and vehemently joyed to taste the sweet cup, and again employed my flagon's powers, entreating more, and said, Good guest, again afford my taste thy aid, and let me know thy name, and quickly now, that in thy recompense I may bestow a hospitable gift on thy desert, and such a one as shall rejoice thy heart. For to the Cyclops too the gentle earth bears generous wine, and Jove augments her birth in stores of such with showers. But this rich wine fell from the river, that is mere divine, of nectar and ambrosia. This again I gave him, and again, nor could the fool abstain, but drunk as often. When the noble juice had wrought upon his spirit, I then gave use to fairer language, saying, Cyclop, now as thou demand'st, I'll tell thee my name. Do thou make good thy hospitable gift to me. My name is No Man. No Man each degree of friends as well as parents call my name. He answered as his cruel soul became, No Man, I'll eat thee last of all thy friends, and this is that in which so much amends I vow to thy deservings. This shall be my hospitable gift made good to thee. This said, he upwards fell, but then bent round his fleshy neck, and sleep, with all crowns crowned, subdued the savage. From his throat brake out my wine, with man's flesh gobbets like a spout, when loaded with his cups he lay and snored. But then took I the club's end up, and gored the burning coal heaps, that the point might hear, confirmed my fellows' minds, lest fear should let their vowed essay, and make them fly my aid. Straight was the olive lever I had laid amidst the huge fire to get hardening hot, and glowed extremely, though 'twas green, which got from forth the cinders. Close about me stood my hearty friends, but that which did the good was God's good inspiration, that gave a spirit beyond the spirit they used to have, who took the olive spar, made keen before, and plunged it in his eye, and up I bore, bent to the top close, and helped pour it in with all my forces. And as you have seen a shipwright bore a naval beam, he oft thrusts at the augur's roofs, works still aloft, and at the shank help others, with a cord wound round about to make it sooner board, all plying the round still. So into his eye the fiery stake we labor to imply, out gushed the blood that scalded his eyeball, thrust out a flaming vapor that scorched all his brows and eyelids, his eye strings did crack, and in the sharp and burning rafter break. But as a smith to harden any tool, broad axe or mattock, in his trough doth cool the red-hot substance that so fervent is, it makes the cold wave straight to seethe and hiss, so sawed and hissed his eye about the stake. He roared withal, and all his cavern brake in claps like thunder. We did frighted fly, dispersed in corners. He from forth his eye the fixed stake plucked, after which the blood flowed fresh forth, and mad he hurled the wood about his hovel. Out he then did cry for other Cyclops, that in caverns by upon a windy promontory dwelled, who, hearing how impetuously he yelled, rushed every way about him, and inquired what ill afflicted him, that he expired such horrid clamours, and in sacred night to break their sleep so. Asked him if his fright came from some mortal that his flocks had driven, or if by craft or might his death were given. He answered from his den, By craft nor might no man has given me death. They then said right, if no man hurt thee, and thyself alone, that which is done to thee by Jove is done, and what great Jove inflicts no man can fly. Pray to thy father yet, a deity, and prove from him if thou canst help acquire. Thus spake they, leaving him, when all on fire my heart with joy was, that so well my wit and name deceived him. And now pain did split, and groaning up and down he groped, tried to find the stone, which found he put aside, but in the door sat, feeling, if he could, as his sheep issued, on some man lay hold. Esteeming me a fool, they could devise no stratagem to scape his gross surprise. But I, contending what I could invent, my friends and me from death so eminent to get delivered, all my wiles I wove, life being the subject, and did this approve. Fat, fleecy rams, most fair and great lay there, that did a burden like a violet bear. These, while this learned in villainy did sleep, I yoked with osiers cut there, sheep to sheep, 3 in a rank, and still the mid-sheep broke a man about his belly. The 2 more marched on his side, on his each side for defense. I then, choosing myself the fairest of the den, his fleecy belly undercrept, embraced his back, and in his rich wool wrapped me fast with both my hands, armed with as fast a mind, and thus each man hung till the morning shined. Which come, he knew the hour, and let abroad his male flocks first. The females unmilked stood, bleating in brain, their full bags so sore with being unemptied, but their shepherd more with being unsighted, which was cause his mind went not a-milking. He to wreak inclined, the backs felt, as they passed, of those male dams, gross fool, believing we would ride his rams, nor ever knew that any of them bore upon his belly any man more. The last ram came to pass him, with his wool and me together loaded to the full, for there did I hang, and that ram he stayed, and me withal had in his hands. My head troubled a while, not causelessly nor least. This ram he groped and talked to. Lazy beast, why last art thou now? Thou hast never used to lag, thou thus hindmost, but still first hast bruised the tender blossoms of a flower, and held state in thy steps, both to the flood and field. First still at fold, at even, now last remain. Dost thou not wish I had mine eye again, which that abhorred man no man did put out, assisted by his execrable rout, when he had wrought me down with wine? But he must not escape my wreak so cunningly. I would to heaven thou knewest, and could but speak, to tell me where he lurks now. I would break his brain about my cave, strewed here and there, to ease my heart of those foul ills that were the inflictions of a man I prized at naught. Thus let he abroad, when I, once brought a little from his hold, myself first loosed, and next my friends, Then drave we and disposed his straight-legged fat-fleeced bearers over the land, even till they all were in my ship's command, and to our loved friends showed our prayed-for sight, escape from death. But for our loss outright they break in tears, which with a look I stayed, and bade them take our boot in. They obeyed, and up we all went, sat and used our oars. But having left as far the savage shores as one might hear a voice, we then might see the Cyclops at the haven, when instantly I stayed our oars, and this insultance used. Cyclops! Thou shouldst not have so much abused thy monstrous forces to oppose their least against a man immartial and a guest, and eat his fellows. Thou mightst know there was some ills behind, rude swain, for thee to bear, that feared not to devour thy guests and break all laws of humans. Jove sends therefore wreak and all the gods by me. This blew the more his burning fury, when the top he tore from off a huge rock, and so right a throw made it our ship, that just before the prow it overflew and fell, missed mast and all exceeding little. But about the fall so fierce a wave it raised, that back it bore our ship so far it almost touched the shore. A bead hook then, a far extended one, I snatched up, thrust hard, and so set us gone some little way, and straight commanded all to help me with their oars, on pain to fall again on our confusion. But a sign I with my head made, and their oars were mine in all performance. When we off were set, then first, twice further, my heart was so great it would again provoke him. But my men on all sides rushed about me to contain, and said, Unhappy! Why will you provoke a man so rude, that with so dead a stroke, given with his rock dart, made the sea thrust back our ship so far, and near hand forced our wrack? Should he again but hear your voice resound, and any word reach, thereby would be found his dart's direction, which would, in his fall, crush piecemeal us, quite split our ship and all, so much dart wheels the monster. Thus urged they impossible things in fear, but I gave way to that wrath which so long I held oppressed, by great necessity conquered in my breast. Cyclops, if any ask thee, who imposed the unsightly blemish that thine eye enclosed, say that Ulysses, old Laertes' son, whose seat is Ithaca, and who hath one surname of city racer, bored it out.